Hey, so we are in Cinema 4D Lite, and I'm going to do some basic modeling here with the primitives. I'm going to speed this up quite a bit because it's pretty basic modeling tips or techniques right here. The part I really want to get to is how to group certain objects together, specifically a robot that I'm going to build. And then the robot, how to animate the arms and different joints and things like that. So it'll be a workaround to using like a rigging or putting bones in the character, because you can't do that with Cinema 4D Lite. Okay, good. So hopefully this isn't making you dizzy since it's going so fast. But I pretty much have the DJ station already modeled out, and now I'm going into modeling the robot. And like I said, this is just basic. These are basic primitives, and I'm using these little side handles to sort of adjust the shapes. And as you can see, I'm using all these different views in order to make sure that everything is aligned relatively in the right place. So with this part, I'm building his hand, and if you see, I'm clicking the fillet right there, and if I click on the fillet, it will give me the ability to round the shape a little bit. So that's another thing you can do, so that your shapes, they don't all have to have a really hard edge to them. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Okay, so let's take some time to really look at what's going on here. So I am positioning the hand. What I have here is an elbow, a bicep, a shoulder, a bicep, a elbow, and a forearm, and a hand. That's what I've named them. If you look up here at the top here, I've named them that. So now what I'm doing is just adjusting the hand with that little, if you look at that little dot there, you can pull that, and that helps. You can just adjust it. It's pretty easy. See, so I'm looking at it from different angles to make sure it looks correct. Because what I'm going to do is, once I have this one set up perfectly, then I'm going to just duplicate it. I'm going to put it in a group. Then I'm going to duplicate that, so that the other arm is set up exactly the same way, so I don't have to do the whole thing all over again. Okay, so I'm going to name that hand. Okay, so the way we're going to group our objects, we select the objects that we want to group, we right click and go to group object in that menu, and it'll give us something that's called a null, and I'll just type in there whatever I want to name this. So I'm going to name this forearm, and then I'm going to select the elbow. Let's see, I'm going to select the shoulder and the bicep. Actually, hold on, let me see. I'm going to let me put these are in the wrong order. So I'm going to put the shoulder at the top, the bicep next, and the elbow next. So I want all those to live, everything that I want to live together, I'm going to select it and then right click and do group object. And then I'll get this thing that's called a null, and then I'll just type in whatever I want to call this. So I'm going to call this bicep. I'm going to put that should be actually at the top of the stacking order, but that's fine. And then I'm going to group all of those things together. So that's going to be called arm. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that our anchor points are in the correct place. So make sure that where it says enable axis, turn that on, and then you can move the axis point. So You make sure that's turned on. If you want to then move it, then you have to click and turn it off. So that's how you're then able to move your object. So now, see, since it's turned off, I can now move it. And see, it's moving, or it's centered around that particular axis. So we want to set this up before we duplicate it. That way the other arm will be set up correctly. So I'm going to click on this forearm grouping. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to go and move the axis point, put it in the center there, just like that. And then I'm going to turn that off. And then now if I select it and then I rotate it, look, it's going to rotate as a joint. So this is how this is a workaround to actually rigging it and putting bones in it. So now I'm sure you can sort of see where I'm headed with this, where we're headed with this. So now we can move these pieces individually. So I'm going to duplicate the arm, paste it, and move it over. So the next step is to select all of these elements that I've created for the robot. So it'll be all of his hands and stuff. Select them all, right click it, and then choose Group Objects. And then I'm going to name this robot. And then that way I can animate this robot as one whole piece. So it's similar to how in After Effects, how we would pre-compose things and also how we would use nulls. But see, look, I can now pick the whole robot up and move it around because it's all in one piece. So now, since I have my robot all grouped in one piece, I can then open it up and then I can then animate and I can adjust each piece in its own group. So it allows me to animate it like we would animate any kind of character with some limitations. I think you kind of can see where this is going. I'll do a simple animation here so you can see exactly what I mean. The next step, I'm going to do some simple, I'm going to add some materials to to my scene, basically. And I'm going to add some lights. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am next going to show you how to add multiple materials to this robot head. So it already has one material on it. So I'm going to select the robot head, select that right there, which is make editable. And then now, since it's editable, it's broken up into little polygon faces. And if I hit that right there where it says polygon like that, then I can go and select each individual. If I zoom in there, I can select each individual piece just like that. So then once it's selected like that, I can then go and put a different color on it. So I can go and grab like a blue or something like that and put it on there and see, look. So now it is a different color. What I'm going to do is now just quickly go to the top view, select all of those like that, and then I'm going to drag on a color. Let me choose a different color so it doesn't blend in with the background. Like that. Okay, so that's how you add multiple materials to an object.